computer. This is a normal computer cabinet. This is the empty cabinet. Okay, so one or two components are there, but here it is a all component cabinet. It is. What is this? A computer. Computer has a one block diagram. So that is, I didn't add this block diagram here. It is. So better is always the computer part. Okay. I'm going to add the block diagram in this particular PPT. So it's a traditional block diagram is there. Okay. So traditional one means we are using this block diagram from so many days, from so many years. What is this? It is generally it is a CPU. It is a called a CPU. Next one is, so important component of a computer is CPU. What we are doing is we are putting a input. So CPU required to give like a we have to give input, right? So then we have an input. Sorry. So we take arrow type. Okay. What is this? It is from input device. We are giving input to the CPU, right? So we are giving input from input device. From input device. Okay, to our CPU. So CPU take that input. What is that input? Instructions and data. CPU take that instructions and data and it process the data. The result of the data. For example, I'm giving an instruction add a plus b. A value, b value, and which function it is? Arithmetic function a plus b. CPU understand what is my information and input data. So for example, a is 10, b is 20. A plus b, 10 plus 20. So it will understand what is a plus, what is 10, what is 20, what is a, what is b, and it will generate an output. Okay, so the generate and an output, it will put it on output device. It will put it on a output device. So that is called a system, a computer. You given a input and to the processor process it, and it shows an output on a output device. Take input from input device. Take input from input device and process it and show the output on a output device. But one more part is there, that is called a memory. This memory is generally it is a physical memory. Memory, it can be a RAM or a ROM. It's a main memory. Generally we are saying it is a main memory. RAM, it is generally it is a RAM only. So it's a memory. Okay, whatever it is, it's a RAM, ROM, whatever it is, we will see later. So we'll see it is main memory. So exactly say it is RAM memory. Okay, what is this RAM memory? We'll do it. So if any specific things required, and it will give it to the CPU. Okay, the CPU required some information from the memory, it will take it. And while processing, the CPU required to store some data into the memory, so it will store into the CPU. This is the traditional block diagram of a computer. So what is the CPU? CPU take the input and process it and put the output on the output devices. So in the input devices, important input device is keyboard. So why it is showing a very less important one is a keyboard only. So your keyboard is important. Why this style is also changed? It's a word style. That's why it is showing like this. So keyboard is a input device. And what we are given example for output device. Without a monitor, you can't do anything with your system. Okay. Monitor is your output device. Not only this, guys. So mouse is a pointer device. Okay. So other devices are there. So we are not always put it. This is the input device. This is the output device. And when you say input device, immediately in the certain textbook will show the list of input devices. For example, keyboard, mouse, monitor is a output device, right? The printer is output device. Printer is a output device. You know, so we ask a question. So what is the output device? Monitor, printer, like that. So people think it is like a speakers are output device. Okay, speakers are. But without a monitor, you have a speakers. You have a printer. Can you work with your computer? Can you know what is you are doing? Okay, we don't know. This is an output device. Still, it is a secondary part only. Important is your monitor. You want to give input. So earlier days is a keyboard is compulsory. Later on days, so other than keyboard like a touch screens, touch pads, this certain things you can easily give the input. Touch screens also there. Okay, so it is not compulsory, but primarily it is a keyboard. Either it is through touch or not. You want to give input, it's a keyboard. Mouse is not an input, it is a selecting device, pointer device. You can select. Okay, you can select, we do it. It's not output device. It can be input device, mainly it is pointer device or selecting device it is. The printer is an output device. It converts your document, like I want to print this document, or I want to print this document, or I want to print this document. So these documents are nothing but a soft copies. This is nothing but a soft copy. I have a picture in my computer that is called a soft copy. I want to take it, make it as a hard copy. I want to print it on a paper or print it on a photo paper, okay, photo card, okay, or board. So what it is called a hard copy. Physical, you are handling something, it is physically, that is a hard copy. Thing is in the system is called a soft copy. So printer converts soft copy to hard copy. The scanner is an input device. The scanner again, input device, convert hard copy to soft copy. By scanning the document, you keep the document into your system. So that is called a scanner tab. Touchpads, we know the touchpads, like instead of mouse, we can use the touchpad kind of stuff. Touch screens, my system is touch screen, of course. Okay. Okay, so here it is. Touch screen things are came. Nowadays, touch screen laptops are become less. So in middle only Windows 8 point of Windows 8, the touch screen laptops are came into market, but later touch screen laptops are gone. Almost it is very costly or Surface Pro kind of stuff. No longer. It is not balancing. Touch screen laptops are not balancing whole infrastructure part. So touchscreen, so like a tablets are a touchscreen. Microsoft Surface Pro having a touchscreens nowadays also. So the touchscreens also input device. It both input as well as by touch you can give the input. We can select it, we can drag it, we can give some command by typing the touchscreen keyboards. Okay, like how you use a mobile phone and tablets, touchscreens, right? Mic is a voice conversion. I'm speaking, my voice is received by mic. It convert into electrical signal, and then electrical signal will convert it into binary part, right? So then it is process and forward. Speakers. So whenever I am hearing the sound, like you speaking, I can able to hear, right? Or I am playing a YouTube video or anything, right? Right. So the sound outcome from the place. So that is sound is sent to the audio chip. Audio chip converts the sound into the you give it to the electrical signal, and it is given to the speakers. Through speakers, I can able to hear. So mic is an input device, speaker is a output device. Card readers, Bluetooth devices. The card readers, like you can swiping the cards also there. Bluetooth devices, now you can able to connect your headphones to your laptop kind of stuff, right? Bluetooth devices, external hard disk also we are connecting to store the data in a backup wise. Okay. Next one is one more point I added, that is called a joystick. Okay, joystick, stick, not tick. Okay, joystick means it is a game controller. So when you are playing a games with your computer, then also you can connect with a Microsoft related any joysticks kind of stuff, means controllers, game controller kind of stuff. You can add it. So these are all input and output devices which is connected externally to the system, which we are connecting. External means outside of the system. Then what are the parts inside of the system is CPU. CPU is a central processing unit. CPU is a central processing unit. So I am going to draw one more shape on this kind of stuff. So we have to first set back the back, and also will change it is the part. Okay, and better no color is better actually, but I don't know so whether it is fill color. Sir, session లో ఉన్నాను సార్. Okay guys, Ravan sir called me just now. So he is going to share some team link. So you have to join in that one. Okay. So just 5 to 10 minutes. I will explain basic things. Then you will disconnect and we'll connect it. Okay. So we'll end the class afterwards. Okay. So here it is, your memories, your CPU, RAM, ROM, motherboard, your hard disk, DVD, CD-ROM, SMPS, floppy disk if it is there, not there now, and the total cabinets. These are the main components of your computer. So this is the cabinet or a chassis is the outside part. This is the cabinet. Okay. In this inside this cabinet, even though you taken a laptop, inside your laptop part, what are the components are there? You can have a motherboard. On motherboard you will put a CPU, RAM, and there is a ROM, built-in ROM is there, and we'll connect a hard disk or the CD-ROMs. Okay, and SSDs if it is required. Okay, and SMPS is give you a power supply to the system. Okay, these are the components are there, guys. Compulsory go through this kind of stuff. So here it is a CPU. CPU is look like this small chip. CPU is look like this, a small chip. Okay, you can see CPU. Lot of people think they call this one as a CPU. This is the cabinet, guys. This is called a cabinet, not CPU. CPU is a chip. The CPU basically built by Intel or AMD nowadays. Of course, there is other people also there to build a CPU. CPU is the brain of computer. Okay, central processing unit. It performs arithmetic and logical functions. And when you are looking at a CPU, the CPU speed is important. Okay, so in a CPU, important things again, it's a old one, so that's I added a few more points there. Go to CPU. This is the speed, clock speed of CPU. Higher the clock speed, higher the speed of computer. Okay. Next one is number of cores, number of cores, number of logical processors. The more number of cores, more multi-threading, things we can able to handle. Okay, number of cores higher. So octa-core, deca-core processors also there, like for a mobile phone. It meaning is it can handle the multi-tasking very easily. Okay, so width it is a 32-bit or a 64-bit processor. We start showing here, but find out. So already I showed how to see the system configuration. We are purchasing a 32-bit processor or a 64-bit processor. So compulsory check it. What happened? Compulsory check. You are purchasing 32-bit processor or a 64-bit processor. What is the cache memory? So how much cache memory of the processor? How much cache memory? The higher the cache memory, better performance of a CPU. Okay. So check the cache memory. Number of core processor, number of threads, and virtualization technology enabled or not. And virtualization technologies there are not. That is important. Your processor is 64-bit, compulsory verify this technology enabled or not. Your processor is 32-bit, no need to verify because this is not there. In 32-bit processor don't have virtualization technology. 64-bit processors may not have virtualization technology, so compulsory. Different manufacturers, Intel, AMD, via. Here it is, I given small explanation about a 32-bit and 64-bit. In 32-bit processor, 32-bit instruction size is 32-bit. In 64-bit processor, instruction size is 64-bit. The first processor is a 4-bit processor. Later we got 8-bit processor, 16-bit processor, 32-bit processor, and 64-bit processor. Okay. So when you see a 32-bit processor or 32-bit application or 32-bit operating system, it shows in end like this, either by 32-bit or x86 or i386 or i586. These are represents of a 32-bit. It's a 32-bit application, 32-bit processor, 32-bit operating system. It indicates like this. In 64-bit, it shows as a 64-bit or x86 64. x86 means Intel. x86 means Intel. x86 underscore 64 means Intel 64-bit or x64 also. Sometimes it shows AMD 64. It means AMD processor 64-bit. Okay. Sometimes for indicating a 64 also shows AMD 64. It does not mean it won't work in Intel. So carefully have to understand that. Okay. So it is about your processor, and important is 32-bit and 64-bit. So there is a difference between a 32-bit, 64-bit. I will explain it later. And these are the RAM and ROM, guys. RAM means random access memory, which we can able to change it, which we can able to change the RAM as per our requirement. Okay, so we can add a RAM, we can remove the RAM from motherboard. So these are the different RAMs are there. not fixed to the motherboard. So most of the RAMs are not fixed. So we can able to remove the RAM also. But ROM is not like that. It is a BIOS chip. It is enhanced to the motherboard like this. It is on motherboard. You cannot today I want this one, tomorrow I don't want it, or I want to upgrade, I want to downgrade. Okay, I want to replace. That is not happening with the ROM chips. ROM chips are fixed chips generally, and RAM chips are not fixed chips. It is a changeable. RAM is a volatile memory, meaning is when system is power off, then total data loss. RAM don't store any data permanently. ROM is a data stores permanently. It is a chip. The chip inside already data is instructions, data written inside, functions, everything is written inside. So when power is off, when you shut down your computer, RAM data will be gone. In a ROM, even you shut down your computer, ROM data won't gone. Okay. In a RAM also there is a static RAM and a dynamic RAM. Static RAM and a dynamic RAM. So what is static RAM? It is a in a RAM two types, static RAM and dynamic RAM. Static RAM is made up of pure form of semiconductors. It's much faster than a regular dynamic RAMs. So it is very costly to compare to dynamic RAMs. So we are using all DRAM types only. Okay, all DRAMs only. So dynamic RAMs. DRAM, SDRAM. DRAM is developed into SDRAM. SDRAM is developed into DDR. Now we are using DDR type RAMs. So DDR, SDRAM. Okay, double data rate, synchronous dynamic RAMs. So 12th generation of DDR. So 12th generation of CPUs. Some 12th generation of i3, i5, i7 supporting DDR5 RAM. So DDR5 is out. So dynamic RAM we are using. What is the use of this static RAM? Static RAM are used for a cache memory. Guys, this is the original architecture. Your CPU contains ALU, CU and cache memory. And there is a RAM and this is the IO controller. So RAM load the data from IO controllers, RAM to CPU, and CPU to RAM, RAM to IO controllers. In between your CPU and RAM, there is a cache memory. Cache memories are built in. Cache memories are built into CPU. Okay, so I'm just telling guys. So go through what is the difference between RAM and ROM. Both are called as a primary memories. Random access memory, read-only memory, volatile, non-volatile memory. When power is off, data loss. When power is off, data still available. We can change the RAM as per our requirement and other dependencies, but we cannot change the ROM because it is a fixed chip. RAM is two types, static RAM and dynamic RAM. Static RAMs means SRAMs are used as a cache memory which built inside of a CPU. Dynamic RAMs are usually we are using as our main memories. So it is a DRAM and DRAM is further developed into SDRAM and then DDR. So double data rate. So this is the history of RAMs. So RAM is we have to check two or three things important in a RAM. So first one is size of the RAM. 2 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM. Next one is the speed of the RAM. You can see the speed of the RAM. This is the size of the RAM. 12 GB size of the RAM. Availability of RAM. Speed is a 1600 megahertz speed. Check the speed of the RAM. Voltage level. Certain RAMs are 3 volts, some are 1.5 volts. So voltage level, low voltage, high voltage levels are there. So compulsory check the RAM. And RAM upgradations or replacements depends upon your CPU model and your motherboard. It depends upon your motherboard as well as your CPU. How much maximum RAM I can put it. For example, in my laptop, if I can able to put it up to 32 GB. Some laptops only 8 GB. Some are 64 GB. Some are 128 GB. So only depends upon your CPU and your motherboard. Okay, so that is important about your RAM. So different RAM packagings also there. Static RAM. This is about ROM, guys. ROM is a read-only memory, and ROM is further developed into EPROM. What is the use of this ROM? ROM contains a firmware. The firmware, ROM contains a firmware. Yeah, it is. Yeah, just 1 minute. I will complete this up to ROM. Okay, so then we'll disconnect. 1 minute only. During the boot up, it perform post operation. That's I said now. The ROM chip contains a firmware. The firmware is called a BIOS. The next version of BIOS is UEFI. So all time we use a BIOS. Now it is UEFI. Basic input output system, unified extensible firmware interface. So ROM chip contains a firmware. It is help to boot your system. It is ROM chip will help you to boot your system and make sure that the post operation will done. Make sure that all components of the computers are working fine. So this is about a chip. This is the power on self test and boot processing. I will tell in a next class. Okay. So tomorrow holiday. So day after tomorrow we'll meet you again. These are a very important small points. CPU, RAM, ROM difference. Okay, guys. Yeah, you can join into the